It is another hot one here in Washington. It's 102, 103 degrees. So I am not turning my studio lights on again today, and I am not turning my air conditioner off. So I thought I would take this chance to make a really quick, simple little video here. Now, in the past, I have done videos of what I think are the best guns for this or the best guns for that. But I get asked quite often, which handguns do I think are the best combat or duty handguns? That's duty, not duty handguns. Basically, which handguns do I feel are best for a soldier to carry into combat or a law enforcement officer to carry on his hip every day while he's doing his daily duty? So I thought I would take a moment to daily duty, not daily duty. So today's video will be what I consider to be the top 5 combat/duty handguns. Now to start the list off at number 5 is the CZSPO1 Tactical. Now this is a hammer-fired, all-steel, double-action, single-action gun with a decocker. Since it is a combat or a duty weapon we're talking about here, I think that it should only have a decocker, no manual safety. But if you prefer a manual safety variant is available. Now this gun holds 19 rounds of 9mm or 13 rounds of 40 if your department or your agency carries 40. Like I said, this is an all-steel gun, so it's a kind of a heavy gun, but since this is a duty gun being carried on a duty belt, weight is not as big an issue as it would be if it was a concealed carry gun. The gun does come with night sights and an accessory rail, so this is an excellent gun for any combat or duty use. The only minor issue I have with this gun that keeps it from being higher on the list is because the slide rides inside the frame, you have very little real estate to get a hold of the slide. So if you're clearing a difficult malfunction, especially if you're wearing gloves, you might have some problems. But that's not enough to really override the really good qualities of this gun. It really is a great gun. So I have no problem putting this gun at number 5 on the list. Coming in at number 4 on the list is the Sig Sauer P226 full size. Now this is a polymer gun. It is double action only striker fired, so it has neither a manual decocker nor a manual safety. It is a very easy to use gun with a very good trigger. In fact, I would say it's the best polymer double action only trigger I've ever fired, with the possible exception of the Walther PPQ. Now, as I said, this is a polymer frame gun, so it's a little bit lighter, but it does have an accessory rail. It does come with night sights, and it holds 18 rounds of 9mm or 15 rounds of 40, depending on which caliber you would be using. Now, this gun is also very versatile when it comes to changing out grip sizes, frame lengths, slide lengths, etc. The gun is completely modular, so you have a lot of options with one gun. Now, I have no problem ranking this gun high based on my own personal experiences with it, but on top of that, a lot of people in the industry that I know and respect their opinions when it comes to such guns think that this is the best gun to come around in a long time. So when you consider that also, I have no problem saying that this is number 4 on the list of best combat or duty handguns. Now, the number 3 gun and the number 2 gun are kind of tied, but for reasons I'll go into later, the gun that falls at number 3 is my favorite gun on the list, the Beretta 92G. Now, for combat or duty applications, I do prefer the A1 variant that has the rail, but these are double action, single action hammer fired guns with all metal construction with a steel slide and an aluminum frame, and they are just all around amazing guns. Now, these guns are available in variations that have a decocker and a manual safety. I prefer the G for a combat or duty weapon, but if you require a safety, those models are available also. In fact, they're more common. This gun can hold up to 18 rounds of 9mm, and if you need a 40 variant, there are 96 variants that hold 13 rounds of 40. The triggers on these guns are amazing. The accuracy on these guns are amazing. They're one of the most battle-proven weapons available in a handgun form in this country or any country, so they are always a great choice. They're very easy to work on. With some very slight modifications, you can tune this gun to where it's the perfect gun for you. The only real drawback to this gun is it is a larger frame gun. This is definitely made for a man's hands. It doesn't have a tiny grip on it. Now, you can put low profile grips on them, thin grips on it, and make it a lot better, and you can also put short reach triggers on it, which make it fit most anybody's hands. But in the stock configuration, they do have a little bit of a thick grip. But still, overall, this is one of the best guns ever made, period, and it's my favorite semi-automatic gun ever made, easily. So I have no problem naming this the number 3 best combat or duty handgun available. In fact, if it was my opinion only on this list, this would be the number 1 gun. Now, the number 2 gun on the list isn't going to surprise anyone. It is the Glock 17. Now, this is a double action only striker fired gun with a polymer frame. It is the lightest gun on this list, so it's probably the easiest to carry, and it does have an accessory rail, and it does have interchangeable sights, so you can change the sights to whatever you would like them to be. The Glock 17 holds 18 rounds of 9mm, and if you need a 40 caliber version, you can get the 22, which holds 16 rounds of 40. This gun is very simple, it's very easy to use, it's very reliable, it's definitely one of the most reliable guns you could ever carry. Now, like I said earlier, number 3 and number 2 are pretty much tied, so I like the Beretta 92 better, but I'm giving the Glock just a little bit of a higher position on the list for a couple of reasons. One is it's a very simple gun, it's very easy to use, and it's very easy to work on. But the main reason I'm giving it a little bit of an edge is because of the availability of aftermarket parts for this gun. You can pretty much modify anything on this gun to be the way you want it to be for just a few dollars. The parts are cheap and they're readily available, and there's lots of different variations and lots of different manufacturers that make parts for this gun to change things that people might not like about it. Now, I personally think this gun has the worst ergonomics of any gun in this category, and I think most people agree with me. But if this is a gun you're using for combat or duty and it's the gun that you train on, you probably won't have a problem with that. But if you're a regular shooter, that you shoot other guns more often, that might cause you problems. My main issue with this gun is it has the worst trigger of any gun on this list. It has a horrible trigger. That's not just an opinion, that is just a fact. Anyone that knows anything about triggers knows these triggers are spongy, they are inconsistent, they're just not great triggers. But like I say, you can change a lot of that, but you can't change all of it. It's never going to have the trigger the 92 has, but it can have a better trigger than it comes with. But all that said, it is still an amazing firearm. It is still a reliable firearm. It is an easy to use firearm. So it definitely deserves the number 2 position on my list of top 5 combat or duty handguns. And now that brings us to the number 1 gun on the list, and that gun is the Sig Sauer P226. This is a double action, single action hammer fired gun with a decocker only. It has a stainless steel slide and an alloy frame. It does have an accessory rail and does have night sights available. This gun holds 16 rounds of 9mm or 13 rounds of 40 Smith & Wesson. These guns have great triggers right out of the box. They're not as good as a Beretta 92 trigger, but they're far better than, say, a Glock trigger. And if you get one with an SRT trigger kit in it, it is an even better trigger. Now, this model of gun is not available with a manual safety. They do make a single action only variant with a manual safety, but I would not recommend that for duty or combat. Now, the guns are a little bit blocky, but they are sturdy, they are strong, they are reliable, they are an all-around amazing gun, and they are very proven. In my own personal experience, every time I have met law enforcement or military personnel that are allowed to choose their own weapons, the gun I see on their hip more often is the P226, and that speaks volumes to me. So when you take all that into account, even though it's not my favorite gun on the list by far, I really do like it, but it's not my favorite, I think, based on my real-world experiences and the people that I know that carry them, this gun definitely deserves the number 1 position on the top 5 list of best combat or duty handguns. So there you have it. There's what I would rank to be the top 5 combat/duty handguns. Now, if it was up to me, if it was based on my personal preference, like I said earlier, the Beretta 92 would be the number 1 choice. But this was based solely on the merits of the guns, not my personal preference. So I can understand where one of those guns might be your number 1, other than what one I chose for number 1, or I can understand where your number 1 gun might not be even on that list. But as far as I see it, based on the merits of the gun alone, those are what I think to be the top 5 combat/duty handguns.